All right, it is time for the John Riggins Show. You're in the right place at the right time with Dexter Manley. I am Tod Castleberry, and here's Riggo.
Yes, you are always at the right place at the right time, but I wasn't. In the last 2 days, I have been at the wrong place and definitely at the wrong time. I needed my man, the brother from another mother. That would be Dexter over there helping me throw a little dirt in the hole or out of the hole. Yeah, guys, I'm going to tell you something. Yesterday, the day before, remember I told you we talked about dirty jobs, and Dexter, of course, we talked about how you walked off of that job in Ohio, or at Oklahoma State when they handed you a shovel, and after about 3 or 4 hours of it, you said this ain't cut out for me.
Yeah, right.
And you never looked back. Good for you. Don't look back.
Yeah.
Because I guess I still think it's that I have it in me. But I've been planting some trees over at the house. And we did some work a couple, 3 weeks ago. Remember the rooster? That was all part of the work getting done. He happened to show up unexpectedly and uninvitedly, but it turned out pretty good for everybody. So finally we got down to the trees. Yesterday I had to kind of prep some of these holes a little bit more, and the trees finally showed up today. And when I got done the other day, literally, this would have been 2 days ago, I went out there and dug. It was 10 holes.
So we've got the video up there for the fans to see of just exactly what the heck is going on.
But the problem is, the hole isn't big enough for me to get down in it. I mean, occasionally it would be to try and, to get the dirt out. But so I can only work on about the last 1.5 feet of that shovel. So there's no leverage. What I'm saying is I'm like, my wrist. I really should be able to, really hurt somebody with my wrist right now. I should be able to milk cows like a pro. But yeah, that was just a little rough. And you know what's bad is you can see by bending over there. Look at it. I'm walking like I got a broom shoved up my ass. It's like, God, what is wrong with it?
He's got his idiot stick with him.
Oh, yeah, carrying the idiot stick. I mean, I sleep with it now. I'm so used to it. I think I'm falling in love.
What does the wife say when she see you doing all this in feminist?
You know what? Every time I look back at her deck, she's got a big smile on her face. I wonder why that is.
She got a working husband.
Oh, man, I am. I'm telling you what.
I haven't seen coveralls.
The worst part is that she expects me to go back inside and make dinner. How about that, guys?
This guy does it all.
Huh? That'll spin your head for a while.
What's your favorite dinner to make, by the way?
I'm going to tell you something really easy. What would that be? I can get by on, I'll tell you what, probably pesto. It's really
after
quick.
This kind of work.
Oh, after that kind of work. Well, my old meal would have been like Pabst Blue Ribbon or something along those lines. But because they say beer is food. That's what Hemingway said. Beer is food.
Shot of Old Pappy.
Yeah, something along those lines. So then today the trees finally came. So it was back in the hole. And you'll see me over here. Yeah, there I am down the hole. Got a new pair of bib overalls on. Not new, but a different pair. Because I'm going to tell you what's weird is it's like 70 degrees out. The humidity has been off the charts. In the morning, we
saw that fog.
You drive a car, you got to use your windshield wipers.
The fog has been terrible the last 2 days.
So if you do anything, even if it's 70 degrees, you're instant perspiration. But you know what? I got to be honest with you guys. I like it. I do in a way. There's something I don't know wholesome about hard work like that.
And you'd rather do that versus working out, right?
I'd rather do that versus working out, and I'd rather do that versus sitting at a computer all day doing this stuff, believe it or not.
Well, how many trees did you plant?
18.
Wow.
Yeah, there's 10 in a row right there. In fact, you can see a few of those smaller trees. You can see the burlap on top of them. There's probably about 5 or 6 that's been planted right there, and then there were another 7 over on the other side.
How much one of those babies weigh?
Oh, those things, they probably weigh close to 1,000 pounds.
You need about 2 football
Each individual tree?
Yeah, I'd just take one under each arm. And one there, one there. That's why I was walking like I was walking. Let me tell you what, that's a strain on your lower back.
Yeah, you need 2 football teams to help you with that.
Let me tell you something. If those are 1,000 pounds and we're getting you back on the field, I can get you a hell of a contract.
Seriously, if I could do that, I could hurt somebody. I couldn't do that when I was 25 years old. Yeah, exactly.
That is the diesel.
That is the diesel for sure. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So, is it over?
So they're all there. They're not quite as big as I thought they'd be, but guess what? These things grow pretty quickly, so I'm hoping for quick results.
Will they be there for the birthday party?
Oh, yeah, Dex, you'll be able to see him.
Okay.
Dex is coming on Saturday. He's coming over for ice cream and cake.
Well, yeah, the big Coco's 16th birthday.
Yeah.
Still hard to believe. And,
Oh, well,
you're going to
Coco,
take her to get her license?
Well, yeah, we do that on Saturday to get her. She's got to take the written test. But Tuesday was her actual birthday, but it's a school night, so we can't really celebrate. Although we were still up to like 11:30. So on Saturday, this is when we take the lid off on Saturday. So Coco, and there's not a better person because she loves it. Her birthday lasts for a whole week. She had a lull. There was a little bit of a lull yesterday because it was the day after
the Wednesday blues.
You ever notice exactly? Well, I'm just saying the day after your birthday, it's kind of like this is like the day after Christmas.
Right.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's depressing.
Yeah, it's weird.
Because everybody's calling you, going, "Hey, you doing, man? Good to see you."
It's all about you.
Yeah,
Solid 24.
And within 24 hours, nobody knows who the hell you are, and they don't care.
Where's the big sister going to get her?
Oh, she got her a really, really nice. Actually, it came from what do you call it? The Louis Vuitton. It's a necklace. Louis Vuitton is now making making jewelry.
Okay.
The luggage people.
Sure.
And so she got a really nice. And then there's some. They got some games, like you play with. I don't know what it is.
So, didn't you rustle her up some boots? Her first big pair of...
Oh, yeah, we did. Coco's got a pair of Western boots. But I got to tell you, I won't mention it.
Made by who?
Yeah, well, you
I'll tell you, Luke Casey.
Oh, wow.
But let me tell you something. These were expensive boots.
Very.
Yeah, exactly. But guess what, Dex?
What?
The first thing, as soon as I get them, I check them out. And I open them up, and I look inside the boot, put my hand in there, and I'm going, these boots ain't leather lined. In fact, these boots ain't lined at all. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So that night I say, well, these boots are not lined. At least Marie goes, oh, that's okay. I'm going, oh, no, that ain't okay. Right. That's just not okay. The optimizer was on top of this. It's going, no, I'm not paying that amount of money for these boots. If they say, oh, no, we don't put leather lining in our boots, well, Luke Casey, you just lost my business because you know what? You've gone straight downhill. That used to be a quality boot. They're made in Texas.
Yeah, that's
their advertisement
time.
is made in Texas.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say how much these boots cost, but they were expensive. So I called the factory yesterday, and they gave me the runaround and said, well, you have to go back to the retailer and tell them. But I did check with them and said, oh, yeah, that boot's supposed to have a leather lining in it. So I'm thinking to myself, quality control at Lucchese is on the downslide.
How many people would know to check that?
That's the first thing I look for.
That's a nice pair of boots.
Yeah, heck yeah.
It would be. But Coco loves them, and that's a problem. She loves the boots, and it's like, I don't care if they have leather lining in them. Now we get down to, but I do. But you don't have to wear them, but I'll know that they're not leather
Hey,
lined.
Mr. Lucchese, we're going to need a little discount.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go with it. I was going to say, okay, they ain't leather lined. Make me an offer here I can't refuse.
Does the wife like boots? Cowboy boots?
No. I used to do a deal with Tony Lama years ago, but it's been years ago, and they didn't pay you, but they'd give you boots.
Sure.
So I've got all kinds of boots, and I got her a pair or two of boots. Actually, she got a real nice pair of bone full quill ostrich. I don't think I've ever. Well, they are scuffed up on the bottom, but
Yeah.
let's just say there's still a lot of mileage on those soles and heels.
Dexter, what's your favorite boot? I see you sport a lot of boots.
Yeah, I do. I have at least
Texas.
15 pair of boots.
Do you?
I like Crocs.
You got some crocodiles? Is that what you meant? Crocodile?
Yeah. Dan Post.
Dan Post. That's good. Are they leather lined? and not cloth lined.
He's got to go check it out now.
Well, they can't be. I got to tell you right now. He's got a pair of crocodiles, which I'm not saying. Obviously he does.
Yeah.
They are leather lined. I mean, no right-minded bootmaker would put cloth lining in a crocodile. I mean, because those are about $700-800 boots.
Yeah, and we got to check with Mark Mosley because that's where I got the boots from.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, man, you told me, man.
Cloth line.
I'm thinking Mose may have went in with an X-Acto knife and cut the lining out and replaced it with cloth.
Come on, Mosley. Come clean, Mark. Come clean.
Well, but then Mose was probably out on the track, and he probably was about a yard and a half behind Usain Bolt in 100 meters. I mean, it was a tight race.
All right, well, good stuff. We'll have a report back on Coco's Sweet 16 party next week.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to shift gears here and get into the B&G and check in with our buddy George Wallace.
Looking forward to it. Let's get him on.
All right, let's welcome in one of our favorite buddies, John and Dexter, an old friend, even though he's not that old. WTOP's George Wallace. George, how long you been covering the burgundy and gold now?
Let's go with Joe Gibbs' third year and a second stint. So 06, I think.
All right, 14.
Yeah.
He's good for 14. Well,
I'm good for 14.
well, George is an old friend, not because he's really a friend, it's because he used to bring us baklava. His mom made the greatest
That's
baklava
right.
I've ever eaten.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. They had it going on.
But I think it usually comes out about Christmas time, doesn't it, George?
Yeah, so we've got some time. I'll put in the order for you. I'm going to see her this weekend. I'll put in the order. So we've got a couple more. We could probably get a Thanksgiving version, too, if you'd like.
Oh, wow. That'd be great.
And
It's
George,
just around the corner.
George must be Greek.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Yeah, that's all over there. All right, well, George, big game on Sunday. I mean, I don't know where to begin because you got the NFC East and then you got Washington. I mean, it's at this point in the season. This is a good place to start. What do you make of the franchise at this point in the season, considering all the turmoil that they experienced going, late, the middle of July or whatever, when they started the rumblings with the sexual abuse or what do you call it? Harassment. And then you got a little bit later, and then the drum started. Well, that's a bad. What do you call it? Analogy. The team decided to change the name, and you got a new coach, and then where are they at right now, George?
That's a great question. I think initially I still am on board. I think Ron Rivera is probably the best person, other than a Joe Gibbs, let's say, to handle this kind of situation with this franchise right now. So that's how I kind of look at it. And now he's going through his situation with the cancer treatments. And I kind of thought that we would be, they beat Philadelphia, and you hear the halftime speech from Dwayne Haskins, and you think maybe he's got it now. Maybe they're going to develop him. He's going to take over that leadership role. And then you start to hear the same old, the rumblings about, inside the building, and he's not working hard, and he's late to, he comes in late, leaves early, this and that. So, I hate to say they're right back where we kind of have always thought they've been the past few years. I think they're a little ahead of that, but I just would like to see the leaks from inside the building just stop. And I think that, Ron Rivera, hopefully he can squash all that. I don't have a problem with the way that he's coaching. I know a lot's been made about his decisions and his mixed messaging about this and that and winning. But, look, for me, it's always, I don't know how you can tell guys in a locker room, professional athletes, that we're not going to try and win this year. So for me, I have no problem with the way he's handled the personnel department right now. But I think that they are hopefully taking steps in the right direction. I think it's going to take Ron Rivera some time to kind of get a hold of this, especially with his situation. But I do think that they are heading in the right direction. I know we've said that for a long time, but I kind of hope that now we are seeing that with him at the helm. And it's going to take him some time to kind of weed out who he doesn't want here. That's the other reason I love the fact that he didn't give long-term contracts to guys. He said he wants to see how they perform. Guys like Brandon Sheriff, Ryan Kerrigan, things like that. So I think that he's still trying to get a grasp and a hold on this situation, but I would like to think it's heading in the right direction.
Go ahead, Dex.
Not at 1-5 headed in the right direction.
Hey, Joe Gibbs was 0-5, Dex.
And let me interject this, George. Now, if a coach would have came to me and said, we want to lose or we really don't care, I'd have said, do I still get paid? Because as soon as he said yes, I'd have said, okay, whatever you want to do.
Right. Well, that's the thing. That's why I kind of have a hard time understanding, and that's why I don't have a problem with the Dwayne Haskins thing. I know I may be in the minority on that, but, guys like Jonathan Allen, Kerrigan, Brandon Sheriff, those guys that are, Chase Young, that come from winning programs. I mean, you just can't. And the NFL is not meant to be. You can win immediately in the NFL. I mean, look at this division. I mean, this guy's something you guys don't even probably recognize how bad this is. So if him saying that, they can win Sunday and be 2-5 and be tied for first place. So I think that you have to try and win football games. And I think that's just the mentality, like the coach has been preaching. And I just don't know how he could come out and say we're rebuilding and come out and say we're trying to lose games. And I think that's been a big question mark with his quote unquote mixed messaging that the coach keeps getting asked about. But, I still think he's just trying to feel it out and trying to win football games. And at 1-5, a chance to be in first place with a win over Dallas at week 7. I mean, I don't know what else, if anybody would have even thought that.
But do you think that appeals to the fan base of the Washington football team?
That's a great question, Dexter. And I think that fans now are I don't know if they know what to think, really. I mean, because you get a coach now who you thought was, you were on board with at the beginning of the season. You're going to ride or die with Haskins the rest of the year, and then he doesn't, then he doesn't call timeouts at the end of games, and then you bench Haskins. So I don't know if fans are what they're feeling right now. To be honest, we've seen some of them on social media are just already done with Ron. I saw one the other day. You guys, I don't know if you've seen this. They said Ron's trying to get fired by doing all this stuff because he didn't realize how bad things are right now. So who knows?
Well, now I wouldn't discount that rumor either. But listen, let's go back to Dwayne Haskins.
You didn't start that, right?
I got to tell you, George, I'm completely, I don't know what it is, confused. I mean, if you look from my perspective, the way I add things up, here's the guy at the beginning of the season, all of a sudden he's anointed. It didn't seem like they had really done a whole lot to be able to determine that he was the quarterback of the future, other than the fact that he was, a first-round draft pick last year, had a flash here or there, and then he starts out the season with a big dramatic comeback win over Philadelphia, which, the defense finally got their stuff together, shut him out, and the offense did what they needed to do. And so it goes along, and then all of a sudden you play the the Rams, I think.
The Rams,
and
yes.
You play the Rams, and that week, within 2 days, he goes from being the starter in the future, he goes that quickly. He goes to a third-team quarterback, and I'm perplexed. And I'm thinking maybe because you're out there, occasionally. I don't know. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't, or at least you communicate with people out there. How does that happen? In other words, I will offer you some scenarios and let me see if you would agree with these. One, that when they told him that he was being demoted, that he had a tantrum, we might say. I don't know, but based on all the other stuff and maybe information you have, that's kind of what caused the flu, was the tantrum, because the tantrum begot, hey, just stay at home. And you're sick, okay? We're going to try and cover you. We're not going to tell the world that you're a spoiled child and that you didn't get it your way, and so now you're going to pout. So you just stay at home. I mean, and kind of in a way that was kind of a, what do you want to call it, a disciplinary action, because I don't understand where they are now. And then, then you got talk about trying to trade him, so then they downplay that kind of because they're trying to maybe think there's still some trade value. I mean, when you look at what happened to Dwayne Haskins in such a precipitous fall, what do you make out of it?
I think from what I can kind of gather, John, is that, once he got that starting job in the offseason, they kind of, I don't want to say he stopped working, but from what I've kind of gathered, that he kind of just took it for granted at that point. I mean, we saw all the Instagram videos in the offseason about him working out with guys, and then he comes to the training camp and there's no preseason games, no OTAs, and Ron Rivera's giving him a chance. And then, I saw with my own eyes after the Ravens game, he's coming off the field. He's the last guy off the field. They just got beat, and he's joking around with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's on a television interview, and he's jumping on his back and joking around with him. And I heard guys in the locker room just couldn't take that. I mean, Terry McLaurin just left that locker room immediately after the Ravens game. They try to bring guys to Zoom press conferences for us to talk to after games. Terry McLaurin was gone. And then you heard the rumor about him bragging about his stats. He threw for over 300 yards, but they lost the game. And part of me wonders, and I don't know this, and you guys can shed light on this too, better. Would veterans go to the head coach and say, "Look, this guy's not putting in the work. He's taking things for granted." That Cleveland game, I mean, that game was they gave that game away to Cleveland of all teams, and the turnovers in Cleveland territory, and it's the same mistakes, the repeat mistakes which is what the coaching staff got fed up with. But I don't know. And that's my point, is that I don't know. Veterans may have gone to the coaching staff, and these guys that we've talked about are trying to win. And Rivera, his quotes, we're going back and looking at some of the quotes after this happened, him saying about guys in that locker room deserve to win. He sees things on the sidelines that we don't see as far as guys frustrated. So maybe he did hear from teammates, the team, about the quarterback's actions. And to your point about the spoiledness, being spoiled, if the word is out on you that you are spoiled, then you don't act professional yet, and then you pull the stuff about not showing up to games because you say you're sick. Forget about this team now, but wouldn't you think that if you want to have a life in the NFL, you'd be on your best behavior moving forward?
Well, real quick, I'm going to comment though on when you talk about the team. But do you think that the team told him he was sick and stay away, or do you think that he wanted to do the super pout and told them he was sick? Because that to me is a key element here.
That's a great question. To me personally, I wasn't buying the fact that he was sick.
I don't think he was sick.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden you woke up and you call in sick the day you're going to be the third string quarterback for the first time. I don't know.
Exactly.
I wasn't buying that. So
there's something a little smelly about it, one way or the other.
Right.
Well,
right.
Let me comment, and I'd be curious to see what Dexter would say. George, to me, if you're a player that's been around the game a little bit, and you don't have, like a 3 or 4 year player, not to mention guys 9 and 10, 11 years in the league, they see a kid come in, and all of a sudden, and that's kind of the way he comports himself. He acts like he's entitled to whatever he wants to do. That would turn him off right away. Then they see him doing what you're talking about after a game, and they at that point, and this is what's interesting, is what you see this very, very seldom, but you hear about how the coach will lose the team. Like they're talking about maybe in New York that Gassy or whatever his name is, Gaze, whatever his name is, that he's lost the team. Every once in a while, the quarterback will lose the team, and that's exactly what I think has happened with Dwayne Haskins. He lost the team, and he is, so to speak, he's cordwood here. He'll never see the light of day.
I agree with it. Hey, George, what are the leakers saying? Can you give us some leakers information and some context so we can talk to the leakers?
Who's snitching, George? Dex want to know who's snitching.
Well, here's the thing. You know what's funny is we thought that this was all going to go away, right? With the Bruce Allen and those guys gone, and Ron Rivera comes in and nothing's leaking out of this building anymore. And then all of a sudden, so who knows? Is it the head coach that puts things out there? I don't know. I can't figure out who the leakers are inside this building. Because
it happens at every time. Nothing's changed. And anybody that wants to believe otherwise, it's not true. So it always ends up being in the power play. He wanted to bench Haskins probably sooner, had his concerns. The owner said, oh, no, that's our number one pick. That's my guy. You better give him every fight. Every coach, from Shanahan to Zorn to Jay Gruden, nothing's changed.
But I didn't even throw Joe Gibbs in there. But, But then Joe probably played ball because I think there was also money going down to his race team.
Of course.
So, he goes, okay, I can work with you.
Yeah, you just get that name on the paper, man.
The thing is, Ron Rivera is not married to any of these guys. I asked him, I point blank asked him at the beginning, we had a little get-together with the coach, and I said, were you told anything about any player, specifically the quarterback? He says, I'm not married to anybody on this roster. So it's not Ron Rivera's first-round pick from last year, right? The coaching staff last year didn't want him, and you still have, don't forget, Kyle Smith is still in the building, who was part of that staff last year who had to draft Dwayne Haskins. So to me, it's not a surprise that this didn't last, and Ron Rivera is just going to cut bait and be done with it as quick as he can.
George, you forget, and I don't know why you would forget, that you're Greek, and the Greeks had arranged marriages. Now, Ron Rivera didn't know it when the season started, but he was in an arranged marriage.
He was in.
After 4 weeks, he's like, what do I got to do to get away from this load?
Exactly.
Hey, George, do you think this guy have a ticket out of town, Haskins?
I do, Dexter. I do. I think whether it's going to be interesting here too, guys. Is it going to be the trade deadline coming up next week? Are they going to get anything for him? Will somebody give this team something because they know that they're done with them? I'm not sure, but I don't think he's going to play another down here.
Yeah.
George, are you hearing any rumblings about the trade deadline? There's rumors out there teams might have interest in a Landon Collins with his big contract. Brandon Sheriff, Ryan Kerrigan, any guys?
Sheriff's a good player.
Who?
Brandon Sheriff's a good player.
Oh, no question.
Yeah.
But
he could have value. He could help the team.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
When it comes down to this time of year, everybody's tradable for the right amount.
Yeah.
I'd be interesting to see if Ryan Kerrigan gets moved. And we saw today with Ngakoue, a second rounder and then a conditional fifth. So, I mean, is Kerrigan on that level? Is he close to that level? What it would take to move somebody like that? You mentioned Landon Collins' contract, and you guys know he has not been playing well this year. I mean, and the head coach has been calling him out too. So I don't know what somebody would give up for Collins. But the last we heard was nobody had called about Dwayne Haskins. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of future he has in this league. Is he? And I know we forget, he played, 10 games in college. And the thing about the college game, and this is just me thinking, I mean, you guys obviously know better, but if you're playing at a school like Ohio State, you have all the 5-star guys, right, out of high school, guys that are already at that level. And then you come here and you have to. It just seems like it's not going to be that easy. And if Ron Rivera didn't have a first-round grade on him, last year, if this coaching staff didn't want him, then if the owner was the only one that wanted him in this league at first round, then what does that tell you?
What do you think? My personal opinion is that Alex Smith has gone a year too long in his career. For obvious reasons, because I really don't think he's a productive quarterback at this point. He's not a part of the future. To me, right. It's really, you could have hired him as a coach. Why take up a roster spot with him? I don't understand that. And that clearly, you would think, is 100% Ron Rivera's choice to make, unless, once again, there's somebody saying, no, he stays too. I don't know, because to me, he makes no sense on this roster. How you develop a guy, you can see his leg is still, God bless him, he's willing to get out there on the field and mix it up with the big boys, but at the same time, you hold your breath every time he does, and he can't, what part of his game used to be, he could slip away from some of that stuff and get out on the edge and make a play. He can't do that anymore. And to me, I think he becomes even more vulnerable than he was.
Well, and I think I agree with that. I mean, and look, the fact that he is where he is just truly remarkable. So if he were to say now, I'm retiring, I'm done, then God bless you. You came all the way back. You played. You had Aaron Donald jump on your back, your first possession out there. But I don't know how he's going to. I still think, though, that is the end goal for this team, whether it be from the owner or Ron Rivera. They want Alex Smith playing quarterback this year, and I think we're going to see it sooner than later. I just have that feeling, and I think we wouldn't have come this far if that's the case. I mean, Kyle Allen's not the future of this team. So, none of these three quarterbacks will be on this team next year. That's very possible, right?
Absolutely,
I mean, none of these guys.
Yep.
Well, George, we know you got to run. We appreciate your time. We are going to put you on the spot before we say goodbye. Who do you like this weekend? What's going to be the score? Dallas versus the Washington football team.
You know what's funny? I'm giving this team one more chance because Dallas is just imploding. They're just, you hear all the comments this week. I mean, Dallas is just a mess. And I think that we saw a little mobility last week. We saw the offense run a little bit more fluid with Kyle Allen. So I'm going to give them one more chance this week. I'm picking them to win. I'm going 21-17 Washington at an empty FedEx Field.
You're a smart guy.
He's Team Dexter.
Total.
See?
George, you're a sellout. I can't believe it.
So wait, that means I can come back and hang out with Dexter, but nobody else is out.
Well, you know what, George? If you're right, you get to come back. If you're wrong, you
get to come back with baklava.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
You can come back anytime with baklava.
Thanks, George. We'll check in with you soon, buddy.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, it's always good to hear from our guy, George Wallace.
Yeah.
Let's dive in a little deeper. So, Dexter, we talked about this last week. Don't call this the Washington football team Cowboy rivalry week. Do not denigrate what this once proud game and matchup was for eons and for decades, and not going there because this is two really awful football teams.
Yeah, this reminds me of two really drunk guys in a bar that finally decide to have it, and they bounce off the walls, getting out into the alley, and they're teetering back and forth.
Throwing haymakers, hitting nothing.
Exactly. But they were once known as really, you don't want to mess with these guys, but here they are, a couple of punch-drunk dipshits out in the hall or out in the alley trying to go at it, and they don't know what they're doing.
Hey, what happened with the NFC East?
Well, here's how bad it is. Each week as we lament thinking it's going to get worse or better. Actually, we think it's going to get better. It's getting worse.
Well, no, it'll get better because they got to start playing each other. So records will improve.
Okay, you are right. So the NFC East this week, they have to get it. Somebody has to get 2 wins, right? There's going to be 2 wins.
Dallas has 2 wins, right? So
Dallas has 2.
So they could be 3 and what? 3 or 3 and 4?
3 and 4.
3 and
Eagles
4.
are 1-4-1. Washington football team 1-5, and the Giants are 1-5. So, but somebody's going to get to 2 wins, unless there's another tie. If the Eagles get another tie,
this week the Washington football team will get the 2nd win.
Okay, I might have a little side action, Dex. We'll get into that a little bit.
What do you think about that, John?
Well, Dex, you know what? I'm starting to get a little wobbly-legged here because I'm thinking, normally based on what I know at this point, I would go against the burgundy and gold. But based on all the reasons, part of it that what George Wallace was alluding to, but I'm starting to think Dallas is truly pathetic.
Yes.
Truly pathetic.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, unless Ezekiel Elliott just goes nuts.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that could change. That could change the shit. But you know what's interesting is George Wallace is thinking that Alex Smith may become the quarterback before the season's over with. And at the same time, I didn't want to interrupt George, but he says, George said, that something about, Kyle Allen's not the answer, or not the quarterback of the future for this team. And I'm thinking,
well, Alex Smith definitely ain't that guy.
I was going to say.
Okay, but George also said that Ron is not married to any of these guys. But how do you say that? And then Alex Smith is on your roster.
Well, there you go, Dex. This is the mixed messages, and unfortunately, we're into week 7 of the NFL season. It's been 6 weeks of chaos coming out of Ashburn, per usual. Just anybody objectively can look at that and see that, again, just 3 weeks ago, your golden boy, the face of your franchise, and he's on a milk carton now because he's missing, and he's probably not going to be here for a while.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. Yeah. But the Cowboys, go ahead, John.
No, what I was going to say is, Dexter, and I'd be wondering what you'd think about this. The fact that it's so obvious, like I was in when we had George on the line, that, the team, he's lost the team.
Ron.
Haskins has.
Haskins for sure.
Has lost the team.
I think Rivera was close.
He could be close.
Yeah,
but the fact that he's lost the team, and you're the head coach, and this guy is basically he's toxic to being out there. And I mean, that's part of the reason. I don't know who's, I don't know. Like, that's the big question. Did he tell him he was sick, or did they tell him he was sick just for PR reasons or whatever, for optics? Because why would this guy, would you even have him coming out there? You don't even listen. When they said that Terry McLaurin got dressed and got the hell out of the locker room, right, no question.
Of course.
And that these guys watched him over there shucking and jiving with Lamar Jackson. I told you
how he was acting with Lamar Jackson he's a made guy. We dap it up, man. Star quarterbacks, you and me.
That goes back to the selfies last year. In other words, once again, the more it changes, the more it stays the same. And like I said, I'm a little bit surprised that he's even on the roster. Sometimes there are people, you make bold decisions and you just cut the guy. You say, you know what, we don't even want you around here. Get the hell out of here. I mean, if that's what, I don't know, but the indications are that it is toxic when he's out there. They don't want him, but so why would you keep him out there?
John,
if you really have autonomy.
Well, that $10 million signing bonus, they just can't throw him to the wolves.
Yes, they can, because they're going to have to, and here's why. Here's why I believe it, John, because that trade deadline's right around the corner. So they'll lie and have their little poker face now, thinking there's some value, and they'll get some type of draft choice or out, which I don't think is going to happen.
I think it will happen.
I think he'll be a free agent. I think they will cut him unless somebody is stupid enough to trade for him and see what they get. But that's, to me, once his agent went public, then to me,
he was
you
toxic.
Don't see. Could you imagine that happening on a franchise of note? That guy would be gone the next day. No agent worth his salt would even consider doing that to the New England Patriots or some of these other franchises.
Exactly. Joe Gibbs and Belichick were sitting this guy. He's definitely going to be out of here on the deadline. That trade
deadline's next week.
He's out of here,
right around the corner.
Yeah, I'm trying to. But like I said, but it does. This part does make sense. You're still a stumble bum franchise. And so, if you want to try and pull the wool over some schnook's eyes out there in the NFL, so be it. I mean, in other words, you don't have to be decisive because you don't really have a brand here to protect. It's just, whatever. Which way is the wind blowing today, basically what it is. You don't have a direction. They're still rudderless to a certain extent, I would say.
What was that you said?
Stumble bum.
Stumble bum.
Yeah, that goes in your book, though. Stumble bum.
Well,
I'm a humble bum, but that's a whole other ballgame.
We lost Dexter. This is the moment. So,
but these expressions, man.
I don't. You're starting to make me get worried here. That's really a word.
But you started to see this in the last week and a half as well, from a McLaurin through his old coach at Ohio State, whose name escapes me at the moment,
Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer, and everybody is like, yeah, we really hope this is a teaching moment. Remember, Dwayne's really young, and
He needs to be challenged.
Yeah, he needs to be challenged, and sure hope he can grow and see a bigger picture here. So everybody's kind of distancing himself because, again, once you act the way that he has done on social media and otherwise, when your agent is leading with his chin and challenging the organization, and that was the biggest news. The day of the game, he was heading into apparently the biggest game of his short professional life.
Well, so maybe you guys can help me on this because I'm not sure exactly how it works. But in order for a team to trade him, in other words, if you were interested in Dwayne Haskins, but you really don't want to, I mean, would you be better off signing him as a free agent and then you can write whatever contract you want? Because if you traded him, the contract goes with him, correct?
Correct.
His rookie contract goes with him.
Correct.
So, but is he in a position, if you got him as a free agent, you say, well, Dwayne, you're no longer under contract, and this is what we're prepared to offer you. In other words, he would take a severe salary cut. Well, I mean, obviously he'll get whatever guaranteed money he had from his rookie contract. But I'm wondering.
Well, he's under the rookie contract, and this is very nuanced, and we would have to get, we got a couple of guys on our Rolodex, and we'll get in to discuss this because I know where you're going with this versus if he's a free agent because nobody trades for him, who owes what? But I think that rookie contract and the way that this is slotted, I don't think he goes clean and free and easy
Even if he's cut?
to the bidder. Yeah, as a free agent. I'm not sure about that. With the rookie contract and the way that thing is scaled.
Yeah, so you're right. That's why I wanted to ask, because I'm not sure how that works.
But I have a feeling that the Raiders is interested in this guy because they're not 100% sold on this Derek Carr and Vegas.
I tell you what, you can have 32 teams, which there are, and you cannot be, and I'll bet you 20, 25 of them aren't sold at their starting QBs, but I'll bet you most of them are not sold on Dwayne Haskins. Who is sold on Dwayne Haskins? What's that body of work? Because if you're going to take him on, then you're taking on a developmental project. If you're honest with yourself,
I agree.
For what his history was even in college, and that's the other thing everybody's leaning back to, but he's so young and only played X amount of games. Okay, then he shouldn't have been a first-round pick.
Right.
Okay?
Well, there's the other part of it, too, though, and this is what you never know when you draft a quarterback, as a lot of teams find out as things move on once they draft a kid. You don't know what's going on up here.
Right.
You don't know exactly what, I always used to say this, and, is where, you've got a lot of power. Got a big engine, got a lot of power, but you can't get it to the wheels. So the transmission, there's no transmission. And at this point in time, the transmission is missing. So he can't get that power to where it needs to be. And so my point is that, okay, now he's I'm guessing, I'm going to use the word immature again. I've used it before.
He's immature.
And you haven't, and this is the weird part. You've actually seen the immaturity in the second year. The selfies on the sidelines last year, that was immaturity. That's where you have a moment where somebody sits you down and says, son, you can't ever, what are you thinking?
Well, you look at the Lamar Jackson deal when they got beat.
and what exactly? And you see that again. Then you got to figure the agent does what he does with the blessing of the family. I'm guessing.
He has to be. And so he'd be a former agent if he did that on his own.
Exactly. So I'm just going is that now this isn't happening. That there's an element going on. It's a classic example of somebody who thinks that their talent is a lot greater than where it really is. And maybe the potential's there, but unless you get that transmission fixed, you ain't never going to get out of the blocks.
Better call AMCO.
Yeah, you're going to be in the pits for a long, long time.
Would you think Joe Gibbs would tolerate this?
Oh, hell no.
That's right.
I mean, there's just no way Joe would put up with something like this. I mean, that was the one thing right away because, what did Joe like? He liked good community guys, and this is not a good community guy, based on everything we're hearing.
How many times did you guys get called into the big guy's office, Coach Gibbs?
Yep.
Because you guys were a little outward there. You were from a different position of a made guy and you, and how much he did not. Because there's no way do I believe with Joe Gibbs here, this plays out publicly like it does.
Oh, right.
And an agent is coming out and doing what he's doing in Dwayne's social media account where he's acting like he's a superstar.
And let me say this, and I will say this on his behalf, that now if you're good for it, and this goes with Joe Gibbs as well, if you get it done on Sunday afternoon and you get it done in double time, you know what? It's like this. I don't see that. I don't know anything about that.
right.
Sergeant
What?
Schultz.
I think it's like Bill Parcells and Lawrence Taylor. I have no idea. I had no idea.
Well, that's any great coach.
Yeah.
Those that can
This
do.
guy's killing people on Sunday afternoon. You want me to throw him off? That ain't happening. Sorry. Get out of here. I like to eat. I like to drink. I like to have my
Dexter,
fun.
anything you'd like to share with the group? How many
No,
times
but-
did Dexter get in? Like,
Well, I'm just saying.
But Dex
that-
got it
and the
done.
veterans would do the same thing. If this kid was out there tearing it up on the field, you can do all the hot dogging you want. You're doing your job at that level. We got to catch up to you, son. And that, because then you're in a position where he's that talent that he needs, like at Ohio State. He needs all those great guys around him to look good. His agent said as much. Well, there's a lot of guys that are so good they make everybody else quarterbacks, everybody else around them better.
sure.
See,
and if
he's
you're a
just-
number one pick, you better bring the number one game to command
exactly.
everything.
And if you
want to
act like a prima donna, then you better be killing it every
But I haven't
Sunday
seen
afternoon.
the big arm. They keep saying he has a big arm.
Well, I think he's got a gun on him, but I think it's a slow gun too. You know what I'm saying?
And it's been wild.
It takes a little bit of a wind
does.
up
He
to get the
winds
ball
up.
down
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
It's not like he's got that rifle just boom.
Yeah.
Well, with all of that,
Yeah.
staring us in the face, and as bad as this division is, Dallas Cowboys, they stink. Let me tell you something.
Yes.
Mike McCarthy.
Oh.
They're revolting against him. You talk about a guy that's losing the team, and what came out this past week after they got blasted by Arizona at home.
Yeah.
And the players, McCarthy had to hold a meeting on Wednesday because they all went to the media saying, this guy and his staff, they don't know what the
doing.
quotes are. They don't
Yeah.
know what they're doing. They're unprepared. They don't know how to adjust.
Yeah.
Well, they said there was some comment in the Dallas area paper, whatever, that they're talking about. Well, hopefully this is a learning moment for the team, and they didn't. They mean, well, and then somebody said, well, for the players or for the coaches,
Right.
And it's just what Tod said, and it doesn't surprise me. I used to work for Sirius Radio, and we used to interview Mike McCarthy every once in a while. And if there's a guy that's full of himself, he ain't just puffed up. That's his ego. That's not fat. That's his ego that you're actually looking at. He's got the big jowls and all that. He's full of ego, not fat. That's hard to do.
Yeah. Well, that DC, I call him the defensive coordinator, Mike Nolan. He's kind of not. He's not. He's not
Mike's
getting the
bouncing.
job done on defense.
Oh my God, they're
Yeah.
getting 30 points a game
Yeah,
scored. They're
yeah,
averaging
yeah.
30 points a game, something like that, isn't it? Tom?
Yeah, they are. They are. Their defense. Their defense stinks as well.
Yeah.
The Burgundy and Gold's defense is slightly better in a couple of categories. But
Yeah,
the
that's correct.
They're a 31st against the run.
Yeah.
So if Washington
Yeah,
does
that's
not
right.
establish
Who's
the run,
31st? Dallas?
Dallas's run defense is 31st in the league.
We talked about this on Tuesday, and I think that actually, if you want to let him go, I think, and it'll take a little pressure off of Kyle Allen, but I think that you ought to give the ball to your running backs and, punt the ball back to Dallas if you have to, a 3 and out, but keep doing it until you make them respect that run. Then maybe you can get some stuff down the field. Maybe you get McLaurin behind somebody. I don't know, but I'm just saying you got to if their defense, and it is that bad, then go ahead and attack it and just go ahead and grind it out for a while. But see, the flip side of this, and this is where Washington's defense really becomes key to me.
There you go.
Because it's Elliott. That's the guy. They got to shut Elliott down. If they can do that, then I think that they'll be able to control the game somewhat. But if Elliott starts running on them, this ain't.
He's turned the ball over in the
Well,
last
that's true.
2
He had
games.
2 fumbles in one game. What, last week?
Last week against Arizona. Now, statistically, the Cowboys' offense is ranked number 1 in yards, 464. They've been putting up points, and they are first in their passing offense. Now, Dalton's played 1.5 games now.
He's a decent quarterback,
no question.
but
And
he's-
CeeDee
but
Lamb is
he's-
lighting them up for the wideouts. So their strength is passing, and Elliott did not look good against Arizona, and that could be in his head right now. So again, strengths, weaknesses, but the Washington football team's offense, John, what a perfect time to establish the run. They are last or next to last in damn near every possible category.
Yeah,
So
I
what
would
better
think
way
so.
to get well do you think?
Well, and to me, what I see, and we talk, like I said, a few of the bright spots on the team. There's 2 on offense as far as I can see. Obviously you still got some guys in the offense. Well, Sheriff, he's still a decent ball player. Moses is a decent, serviceable tackle.
Yes.
You know, and then you get out to you got McLaurin at wide receiver. You got the tight end. What's his name?
Logan Thomas.
Logan
and
Thomas.
Logan is, they're
He's
dinged
getting
up. They're dinged up, and he missed a couple of practices.
Oh, he did.
And yeah, with the neck. So we'll see how that manifests itself. But shouldn't this be the week they establish the run?
I think so. For sure they should, because these guys, you know what? I'm impressed with them. You know, they're no-name people, but at the same time, they seem to get in there. They're quick. They can run outside. They can catch the ball, and they make people miss, or they break tackles. So I would say give it a shot, because the other thing is, this is a good time to catch him after. And I speak from personal experience. After what's his name, Elliott has fumbled a couple times. He ain't going to be running the same. You just don't.
No.
It takes a while to get back to, because you're so conscious of that football. And I had it happen to me in Detroit way back when, where I had 2 fumbles in one game, and it was like, oh, what is going on? And let me tell you, it's weird, because everybody, you're not paranoid. They are looking at you, and they're thinking exactly what you think they're thinking.
He did not look good on the sideline after the second one. You saw he saw a ghost.
Might as well go to the locker room.
Yeah, and he was like, how did that happen again?
I don't know how a quarterback throws 3 interceptions in a game. I mean, 2, like I'm going, because the defense is over there like.
Oh, I'm looking forward to the matchup, because the Dallas offensive line, they've got patchwork. And the Redskins have a nice front 4.
Yes.
So that's going to be a good, interesting matchup.
Yeah.
No
well,
question.
That's another key, Deck. I think you hit another one there, is the defensive line for Washington. They've really got to get some penetration, stop Elliott in the back, first throw him for some losses, and then if they're going to try to throw the football, they need to get some sacks.
Right.
They need to pull what's his name down? The red-headed kid. What's his name? I can't remember. The quarterback.
Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton. Yeah, Andy Dalton.
That's what I call playing behind the line of scrimmage.
Exactly.
Well, needs to happen.
Needs to
happen. So a little bit more research before I get your guys' predictions here. So the ESPN's Football Power Index, and they do all the simulations on playoffs, and to show you how bad the NFC East currently is, there's a 28% chance that the NFC East winner will have 6 wins or fewer. Now, that's bad. So they ran the simulation 20,000 times, and there were 13 simulations that came out that the division champion could win with 4 wins.
4 wins.
4 wins. So that is a possibility.
Oh my
the lowest has been 7-9, as we
That's
discussed.
what I thought. I didn't think there was ever a 6
It
and
was.
10.
We the crack research team here after the show. So there's 7-9 is the lowest, and I believe
You
it's
said
happened
it's possible
twice.
they get in at 4 and 12.
Yes, it
well,
actually exists.
Would the commissioner step in and say,
Nah, you can't.
we're going to have to say,
You can't.
this is like we're going to put an asterisk.
You're going back to
can you do
1970.
that?
You're going back to 1970. So what's that, 50 years? So if it happens once in 50 years, it's like the pandemic. It's about the comet
Maybe
that's
it
about
goes
to
with
hit
the
us.
pandemic. Yeah, just one of those years.
Dexter Manley, what is your prediction?
I'm always going with the Workin and Gold.
No matter what?
Wait a second.
Yeah, the Cowboys, they're not
Sell
very
out.
good. And the strength of the Redskins is their front 4.
Okay, what's the score?
I can't give you a score. I can't even add up that much.
Oh, they're going to be that much scoring. Okay. Like about a 35-34 shot, kind of like it was back.
Shootout, an
I say it's a
old-fashioned
close
shootout.
game.
That was like a 79 score, wasn't it? What was that score? Do you remember?
Yeah, you guys lit it up.
34, 36, 35?
Yeah, you guys
Something like that.
lit it up.
I think I'm going to have to go with the Birdie and Gold this week. I do, because I think Dallas is just completely, they're falling apart.
Yeah.
And, they got coaching problems. I don't think that's hit here yet, but, I see that the potential's out there. I think Rivera could
Oh,
lose
no
the
question.
team. I mean, when you think about it, and they won a Super Bowl 3 years ago, you say the NFC East, they're all 4 coaches there could lose their teams. Because the players, after a while, you come in, somebody slides in at 4 and 10 or 4 and 12 at the end of the season. Hey, we won our division. It's like, and the coach got fired. It's like, how did that? You won the division. They fired the coach. Well, the record is 4 and 12.
There you go.
Hey, what does the big guy say about this guy supposed to be a disciplinary, come from the military, and is not getting the job done?
Which big guy?
Upstairs at WFT.
WFT. Well, I don't know, Dex. I think we're seeing more of the same, and I think Ron is
Doing the best he can.
Fighting his guts out after he's learned what really goes on and who's really in control.
You have to have a little bit of empathy for Coach Rivera just because, I think, is he still taking the chemo, whatever the cancer treatment?
I believe he is.
I mean, that's...
Yeah.
I mean, God bless him. He's trying, talk about biting off perhaps more than you can chew. I mean, and what are the odds? I mean, it'd be one thing if there was no controversy and you were trying to fight off cancer.
Yes.
But, you and coach football and win football games. But you throw in the controversy. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I would have to believe that you're talking about. You say next week is that when the trade deadline hits?
Yes.
I got to believe they got to move Dwayne Haskins at some point within the next week or two.
Oh, they're trying like crazy. The phone, nobody's calling.
But so they'll just hang on to him till they can't trade him then after the deadline. So
correct.
So then it's like
you'd have to cut him.
It's like bring your check, your playbook, and go see Coach Rivera.
Cut him, or he's going to get paid the money. His deal's done for this year. So
I believe he's going to get moved.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to take a wage on it.
I'll tell you what, Dex, if you and me were in that locker room right now, based on what we know about Dwayne Haskins, and they continue to have him on, he's down there doing all. I mean, you got to figure, has the guy changed any? I mean, maybe they're waiting for him to change.
I'll just have a conversation in the shower with him.
You would?
Yes.
I'd pick a different spot, but I might have a conversation with. I don't know if I want to do it in the shower.
Guy, you and me got to talk.
I don't want him to get the wrong idea.
What the hell? What's Dexter?
Because then, Dex, he'd say, you got a record, don't you? And he'd start putting two and two together and be like, whoa, Dwayne is a new man.
What is it? All of a sudden, Dwayne's flying right.
Well, what do you think happened? We had a talk in the shower with Dexter Manley.
Dexter Manley, life coach.
He sees the light. He sees the light.
I like this, Dex.
There's a possibility.
Could be the man for the job.
Yeah.
We have a little chat with Doug Williams.
All right, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week as we go into the Dallas game. And I'm thinking, guys, maybe next week we got to find another pinball besides Dwayne Haskins. What do you guys say? I mean, unless, of course, they trade him and he's back in the news. I mean, but I think we've expressed ourselves.
Well, I don't know who's whipped more, you working out in your yard or Dwayne Haskins being demoted to third, but we'll pick it up.
That's a different type of whip out, that's for sure. All right, see you guys on Tuesday. Riggo out.